I tasked myself this year with watching a movie every single day. And while that allows me to catch up on recent releases I might have missed, and of course, all the brand new releases, I thought it might be fun to once a week check out a movie that maybe I've never seen or that I have not seen for a long time on a big anniversary. Well, it is the 30th anniversary, believe it or not, of Higher Learning, John Singleton's third film, of course, following up Boys in the Hood and then Poetic Justice. I've never seen this movie, so let's take a deep dive into Higher Learning. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Higher Learning. This is the third John Singleton film. He became a very acclaimed director right out of the gate with Boys in the Hood. He was nominated for Best Director for that movie, and he became the first African American to be nominated in that category, which is hard to believe because Spike Lee certainly should have gotten there a couple of years earlier with Do the Right Thing, but be that as it may, Singleton became the first, and I think maybe he was the youngest ever as well. Because he was only 24 at the time, and that was a huge success for him. And then Poetic Justice, maybe not as big at the box office, but certainly a lot of people talked about that movie at the time. Janet Jackson, really at the peak of her fame, she had just done the Rolling Stone cover where her breasts were covered up. That was obviously huge, but musically, she had a string of hits off of the Janet album, which came out the same year as Poetic Justice, and then her co-star in that, Tupac Shakur, obviously a very, very up-and-coming rapper at the time. So a lot of people talked about that, but this one was his third film, Higher Learning. It is an ensemble film that deals with a lot of things that we're still dealing with today, certainly. So we'll get into all of that here shortly. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to Dan Reviews It, I do movie reviews and TV reviews, mostly newer stuff, but like I said, every so often we'll dive back into some old films. I have never seen this movie, so this was my first time through on Higher Learning. But I used to do old video reviews or old movie reviews, I should say, with my buddy Joe, and those are still up on my channel. We would have a big anniversary of something and pair it with a second film that had something to do with it, either a same theme or the same actor, or maybe it was a sequel to the movie we watched, whatever. And those are much longer form videos. We really kind of sunk our teeth into those films. This is going to be slightly longer than one of my normal movie reviews, which go about 8 or 10 minutes, but we're going to take a little closer look into the movie as well as me reviewing it. But listen, if you are not one of my subscribers, would love to have you aboard in that capacity, so hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well. And you could like this video and comment below too. That stuff always works wonders for the old YouTube algorithm. So far, I have one of my classic movie reviews up that I did the other week for Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. That was the 35th anniversary of that one. But January marks the 30th anniversary of Higher Learning getting into theaters. So let's talk about this movie. Like I mentioned, it is an ensemble picture. A lot of people here that became, stars very quickly afterwards. Tyra Banks, this is her film debut. Nobody really knew her at the time. She was dating John Singleton, so that probably helped get her the role. But in any event, this is her film debut. Ice Cube is here, Michael Rappaport, Omar Epps, Christy Swanson, who at the time was coming off of a couple of minor movie hits like the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Regina King, Jennifer Connelly, Cole Hauser, Busta Rhymes, first time probably a lot of people saw him, Lawrence Fishburne. So a lot of people in this movie that you will certainly recognize. And this takes place at the fictional Columbia University, and it follows the lives of a bunch of incoming freshmen and how their lives are about to be kind of turned upside down with campus life and the people they're meeting. And that includes a track star, Malik, played by Omar Epps, who struggles with his academic stuff. Christy Swanson plays Kristen, who is this shy and naive girl that doesn't quite know what she's in for. And we have Remy as well, played by Michael Rappaport, who is a lonely and confused man who seems a bit out of place and out of his depth in his new environment. So he seeks solace in a hate group. So those are sort of a few of the people that we're following, but really, a lot of these people have, sort of branch off into, their roommate and then the roommate's story and some other things. Lawrence Fishburne plays Professor Maurice Phipps, who is a bit of a hard ass teacher. He wants the best for his students, but there's some perhaps racial undertones to his stuff as well. So yeah, look, this movie is certainly trying to tackle a lot. And before I get into sort of the review portion, I just want to say some things about the background of this movie in terms of sort of alternate casting universes and the people that were either approached for the role or that Singleton maybe wanted for the role. So the Michael Rappaport role was originally to be Leonardo DiCaprio. They had offered him the role, but unfortunately he was filming another movie at the time, The Quick and the Dead, so he did not get aboard here. But he had, done a couple of pretty big movies by the time this was out. Basketball Diaries, I guess, had come out, but he was nominated for an Oscar for What's Eating Gilbert Grape by this point. So obviously he was, on the rise. Titanic was yet to come, but Tupac was supposed to play Malik actually, and he got the part and everything, but then he went to jail, so couldn't really be in the movie from there. But of course, him and Singleton had a nice working relationship on Poetic Justice. And then this is the one that I think I can't imagine the most. Dustin Hoffman was originally considered for the role of the professor. Now, I think that would have given the movie sort of a whole nother meaning with that character and his relationships with his students. I think it's a lot more impactful that you had a black person playing that role and sort of having issues, the Malik character played by Omar Epps, having issues with him despite the fact that he is also black, as a student. I think if Dustin Hoffman were in the role, I don't think the racial stuff would have come together quite as well. So after Dustin Hoffman didn't work out, he actually wanted the movie to revolve way more around the professor and the Malik character, but Singleton was like, look, there's a lot going on in this movie. We have more than just those characters. So he didn't get involved. But the second choice was Sidney Poitier, who was not available at the time, and of course, played one of the most iconic teachers of all time in To Sir With Love. But Singleton's second choice was Samuel L. Jackson, and he was an up-and-comer as well. I guess Pulp Fiction had come out by then, right? Because that was 94. But he was also in a Spike Lee movie with Jungle Fever. But the studio said, look, you had such a great working relationship with Lawrence Fishburne in Boys in the Hood. What about him? And I think Sam Jackson would have done the role just fine as well. But I don't know. There's a certain gravitas to Lawrence Fishburne that I don't know that it would have been portrayed the same with Samuel L. Jackson. So I think the studio probably made the better choice there, to be honest. But anyway, according to Singleton, a lot of this movie came about because he had his own college experiences while attending USC. And, he faced some racism, and he faced, some of the frat life and cops, campus police being unfair to the black students more so. So a lot of that sort of went into making this movie. And he did write the script for it as well, I think, right? Yeah, so this was written and directed by John Singleton, and not a ton of awards love here like Boys in the Hood, but certainly it had its place. It did very well at the box office at the time. It made $38 million, which was good enough for 44th place at the box office of 95, so not bad, a top 50 movie of the year. But all right, so that's sort of the background. Let's get to the review part. So look, this is a good movie, but it is not a great movie. I think there's way too much going on. I will admit I've not seen Poetic Justice, but I have seen Boys in the Hood. It's been a long, long time, but I have seen Boys in the Hood. I would say of the three, that is certainly the crowning achievement. I think many people would agree with that. But here's the thing. Higher Learning, well, first of all, is timeless because it's still relevant 30 years later. I mean, if we want to talk about some of the positives here, the fact that, there's a white supremacy group as a major focal point of this film, and the Michael Rappaport character gets sort of, instituted with them because of his own sort of disillusionment, and they, kind of recruit him, and obviously look, I don't do politics on this channel, but anyone that's watched this channel for a little bit of time, knows sort of where I stand on certain issues. And with things going on right now in the U.S. with our new, let's say, regime, yeah, I mean, a lot of these issues present in this movie are very, very present in 2025 to a scary degree. And in that respect, I think the writing is really, really quite something in this movie. I can, you can see that, okay, he did meet people like this in his own college life, John Singleton did, because these characters, although we don't necessarily get to spend enough time with them, and as a result, we do get more sort of stock characters in some of them, but they all seem like real people. You've got the Ice Cube character who is, sort of rough around the edges and gives his roommate a hard time and gives the cops a hard time and all this. But then as the movie unfolds, you see, oh, there's, maybe some reasons for this. Maybe he's doing it to protect himself in many of these areas. And then you have, Christy Swanson, who is just, new to the world. She's lived in this bubble her whole life. And I certainly knew people like this in college as well, that, the college experience is a shock. And unfortunately, some things happen with her character that are not great. And Regina King, as her roommate, goes to bat for her. And, more so because when she talked to the person on the phone that assaulted the Swanson character, he calls her a bitch, and boy, you don't do that to Regina King, if there's one thing we know. So, she marched down there and got her crew together and had some words. And look, this is stuff that certainly still happens on college campuses, in 2025. There's no doubt about it. So the timeliness or timelessness, I should say, of this film really is quite remarkable, because a lot of movies that are like issue based or commentary based from the 80s and 90s, some of them maybe don't hold up quite as well, because either the issues have gone away or the way they're dealing with it is sort of rudimentary. No, Singleton really is tackling a lot of things head on, and I think the script is good enough that it kind of floats by. But the problem is there's just too much going on, and it was revealed that, I don't know if it was in DVD commentary or in interviews after the movie came out or whatever, but Singleton had said, he is deceased now, so this was a while ago, obviously, but he said that a lot of the movie got cut. And I can see why, because a lot of the threads here we don't really get to focus on enough. It becomes mostly about the white supremacy group, and a little bit less so about Malik and the teacher and Christy Swanson and her sexual assault and, all of these things. Maybe some of them don't get as much time. And then, like I said, the background characters, some of them, hardly get a few lines, like Jennifer Connelly, Tyra Banks, a lot of these names who maybe became bigger after the fact. Jennifer Connelly, I guess, certainly was a star already. But, some of these other people just don't quite get enough involvement at all. Even the Ice Cube character, really. I mean, he's in a few key scenes, and certainly is crucial to the plot, but I would have liked to explore him a little bit more, and I think, Busta Rhymes is part of that group as well. I think that's the main problem with this movie, is it's trying to do too much, and as a result, a lot of things sort of, fall by the wayside, because there's only so much time in a movie like this to kind of devote to each character. So we get the main three, really, Omar Epps, Christy Swanson, and Michael Rappaport, and then everybody else is a little bit more ancillary to everything else. And that is certainly one of the problems with the movie. But the fact that it remains so relevant 30 years on, I think that is a testament, really, to Singleton's writing. And his directing is fine. There's nothing necessarily amazing about it. I think, really, his best work with this movie is on the script. You also have Michael Rappaport, who I like. I like him, more in recent projects, I guess, than in something like this. But of course, you're designed to hate him. But he does not lose his Michael Rappaport, thick New York accent when he's playing a kid from, I forget where he's supposed to be from. I think Idaho or something. And so that's maybe a little bit of a misstep on Singleton's part, not getting somebody that was a little more believable maybe in that role. So that could be a fault as well. But overall, look, I'm glad I finally got to see this movie. It's one I had always heard about, and it came out at the perfect time for me. I was just about to start my freshman year in college in the fall of '95, so I'm not sure why I didn't see it. I guess I didn't even have my license yet. So, we saw some movies at the theater, but we had to really, really be choosy, because we maybe only went out to the movies once or twice a month. And so this one just kind of unfortunately fell through the cracks, but I'm glad I got to see it now, and even more so under the 2025 sort of lens. So I leave Higher Learning with a C+. I should also mention you can check this out now on Hulu, at least as of this recording, or Pluto TV has it as well with the ads. But yeah, you can check it out on either of those platforms for the 30th anniversary. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time.